irritating would it be if I did the whole review like this? Fear Her, another one from Series 2. Not particularly well loved. I wonder if people actually go back and think of how uneven Series 2 really was. Because boy. Okay, so I already did Love and Monsters, which I think is probably the one that gets more vehement hatred than Fear Her does. I actually think Fear Her is worse though. I get why people dislike Love and Monsters more, and I think it's because in addition to all the other things that are wrong with it, its very structure feels not like Doctor Who. It makes it really easy to single out because it's got a whole WTF factor. Whereas Fear Her does at least superficially feel like a Doctor Who story. The Doctor and Rose arrive somewhere, there is a problem, people are in danger, they fix it. So it is, on a basic surface level, more resembling of a standard Doctor Who story than Love and Monsters, which I think makes that one an easier target. Not to say that like this is like an overrated episode. I don't know anyone who thinks Fear Her is very good, but I do think it's interesting that Love and Monsters gets more hate, but because the reason I think this is worst is that at least Love and Monsters, I can look at it and go, here are the kernel of the ideas and the themes that had potential, that could have worked under other circumstances. Having watched Fear Her again, I don't think there's anything to salvage from this. Like, all of it, from the core concept to the execution, to the performances, to the pacing, to the resolution, none of it, like, is anything that I'd say, okay, we'll take that bit and build something new around it. Like, I would just scrap all of this. So, in case you don't remember, because I actually think this one also sticks in the mind a bit less than Love and Monsters did, which is also another reason that one probably gets more hate, is that the story on this one, the Doctor and Rose show up in the far-flung future of 2012. God, remember when that was futuristic? I'm so old. In any case, they get there and there is this neighborhood where the Olympic torch is going to be run through in the very near future. And basically the people are living in terror. Children have started disappearing. And there's a little girl up in her room that her mother seems really kind of spooked by. And it turns out what's happening is, God, how do you even explain this? An alien spore had like a little seedling ship thing that came too close to Earth, got sucked into the gravitation and crashed. That little spore alien thing is normally part of a cluster of billions, and so it's feeling lonely. It latches onto this little girl who is also lonely, though for other reasons, and then it sort of empowers her with the ability to draw the neighborhood kids, and when she does that, they become trapped. The real kid becomes trapped in the drawings that she made. And also anything that she doodles that doesn't have a real world equivalent that she's trapping into the paper can also come alive. Oh, and somehow the Olympic torch is a universal symbol of love and hope. I mean, hope maybe, but love, like emphatically is said, and the fact that that's coming through helps solve the thing. It's really dumb. Guys, like, every level of this concept is dumb, and then the execution just sinks it all the more. I mean, I mocked it in my intro bit, but I feel really bad for this child actress because she's doing the best she could, but I think it was a really bad decision to not in some way modulate or dub her voice when it is this alien spore thing that is meant to be speaking through her. And instead they just have a child speaking in whispers, complete with all the big uffy breaths. And yeah, I can't take that seriously. It's not creepy, it's not unsettling. Like, I think I can understand, I mean, they should have thought about it more. But I think I can see where the issue happened, which is that they didn't want to dub it over with a more adult-sounding voice because the spore is also supposed to be a child, because what it's attempting to do are childish solutions to its loneliness. So it can't be more mature than its thought process doesn't track anymore. So I get that, but I mean, just get a voice actress. Get an adult woman cartoon voice actress who normally voices kids in cartoons, and just to give it something different so we're not stuck with this poor young actress's huffy line readings. It's bad. It is so painful. And then on top of everything else, it has the nerve to try and be about, like, abusive families and long-term emotional damage and a parent's inability to help a child cope. Like, in a story this ridiculous, this absurd, with a literal monster that is a ball of scribbles that the doctor erases with a pencil, you have the nerve to try and be poignant and have a message on top of that? What were they thinking? That to me was when it truly went off the rails, because I had vague memories of, there was the sketch of her father that she'd done on the wall of her closet that was like all threatening and monstrous, and in reality her father was dead and he was abusive. So like I remember that, but I did not remember how hard this episode tries to have that be like some sort of emotional gut punch or catharsis, and it, oh my God, it doesn't work. Like, none of this works. And like I said, the whole idea of the Olympic torch as a symbol of love? What are you talking? It's a symbol of competition. Like, I'm not saying there's not such a thing as friendly competition. Theoretically, that's what the Olympics are, but I don't think of the Olympic torch and think, oh, a symbol of love. What? Like, and it gets said repeatedly, what is even going on? And the Doctor and Rose don't get a heck of a lot to do either. The Doctor gets taken out of commission fairly early on. It's not quite a Dr. Light episode, but it's close. And then Rose is left on her own, Billie Piper trying to do the best she can with this preposterous script, an insane story, and these actors who don't know how to make this work. Not that I'm sure there was any way it ever could have been made to work. All the while, it's set in this completely mundane setting, which can work very well for horror, but none of this is scary. And when they try and like milk the emotional damage that the daughter had, that a big part of why that doesn't work is because right before they try and do that, we've spent a huge chunk of time dealing with the spore. So like the daughter's damage isn't even what's been talked about for like the last 20 minutes, but now all of a sudden we're going to try and pay off a big emotional impact for her thing. Oh God, look, these sorts of things where there are things sort of circling around children can work very well. I think at its core, not dissimilar concept, at least as far as a child who is impacting the world in a negative way because of the damage that that child is suffering, is later on down the line with Night Terrors. Now, I didn't like Night Terrors as much as other people did, but it works a heck of a lot better than this. And certainly the core concept of a child that has powers way beyond, you know, what it should have for the kind of thought processes and ways of thinking what would work that a child has. They shouldn't have that level of power. That was a big part of what I liked about the concept of the empty child back in series 1, but none of those sorts of underlying factors that would make the idea of an overpowered child are at play here, so none of it works. It's just, yeah. Like I said, I can look at Love and Monsters and go, okay, I understand why this got made. Why, like, how early on in the process, looking at themes, thinking of general concepts, why you would have thought this was a good idea. I can't look at any piece of this thing and go, yeah, I can see why you'd want to make that episode. And it doesn't help that there's all these disjointed pieces that also don't click together and form anything other than a mess. A big scribbly mess. Like, honestly, that's what the episode feels like. The episode feels like that scribble monster. Like somebody was just like, crumple it up, throw it in the bin. And then somebody dug it out and filmed it. Oh, man. Yeah. Not good. If you hadn't gathered that already. Fear Her. What did you think about this thing? Hooey! Whatever you thought, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. A whole bunch of stuff to do as well. There's buttons and links. There's a link to my Patreon. I actually just restructured the rewards and the tiers a little bit on there, so maybe check that out if you haven't in a while. And other stuff to look at. I've got a PO box and other sorts of stuff. All sorts of links. You don't want to click on any of them. That is okay too, because at the end of the day, folks, you're the council. I just run the meeting. So until next time, this council is adjourned.